to lend her expertise. And if you enjoy these interviews, I encourage you to listen next week, because the main topic of conversation is going to be none other than the plague. And believe me, you're not going to want to miss this. I have a interview with the state veterinarian in New Mexico, and he's an absolute encyclopedia on the plague. So you definitely want to check that out. Next, I want to go in briefly, as we're running short on time, is what I want to call Outbreak Digest. I'm going to go through some of the headlines in the globaldispatch.com Outbreak News section. And we'll start overseas, and it's just going to be what's happening and maybe a little snippet of information about it. First, in China, they reported a new H7N9 avian influenza or bird flu case. And this is interesting because this is the first case since August. So it's been 2 months. So that's causing a little bit of stir over in China. In Qatar, a Qatari man has become the 139th confirmed case of the MERS coronavirus. The interesting thing about this story is they are examining his farm. He has a significant amount of animals, including camels, sheep, and hens, and they're all being tested for MERS. To date, though, none of the tests have come up positive for the virus, but that investigation is ongoing. So the MERS outbreak is now up to 139. I talked to Dr. Carol Pandak about the polio outbreak over in the Horn of Africa. She quoted the number. I talked to her on Monday when I recorded the interview, and she quoted the number 191 cases of polio. However, since that time, I reported yesterday that Somalia and Ethiopia, between the two of them, recorded 6 more polio cases. So that outbreak is now up to 197. A little bit closer to home, we have the multi-state salmonella outbreak, Salmonella Heidelberg, which has been linked to the Foster Farms chicken. That outbreak has risen over the past week by 22 cases, 20 of them from California alone. And now the exact number is 338 persons infected with 7 different outbreak strains of Salmonella Heidelberg. California is totally getting bombed with this. They have 252 cases alone. But this is affecting us in Florida. Florida has reported 4 cases of salmonella from this outbreak. And staying in Florida, the Vibrio vulnificus situation, Collier County this week reported their first case, bringing the state total to 33. The death total remains at 10. And apparently this Collier County individual contracted it through seawater exposure in an open wound on Marco Island. We'll be hearing more about this bacterial disease, and I'm hoping to have somebody on from the Florida Health Department or the Hillsborough County Health Department to talk to us a little bit more about this next week. But, just some key notes about Vibrio vulnificus. If you are immunocompromised, or if you have some underlying condition, particularly chronic liver disease, 2 things you need to avoid. You need to avoid eating raw oysters, and you need to avoid wading or swimming in salt water if you have an open wound, because the fatality rate on that is hovering around 50%. So it's very, very serious disease for those types of individuals. The globaldispatch.com, if you look at the toolbar, you can see that there's Outbreak News. Click that on, and you go to the Outbreak News hub page, where it's broken down by some of the more popular stuff: dengue fever, the coronavirus, by countries, by continents, foodborne. Interesting story out of South Carolina. They've reported 3 cases of cholera that was linked to eating raw shellfish. That's a story you might want to check out. There's gonorrhea outbreaks in Spokane. There's all kinds of things happening around the world. South Carolina reported its first snake that was positive for snake fungal disease. If you're up in animal diseases, that's something to take a look at. I also have a section called Infectious Disease Q&A, where I basically say, what is the latest one is what is yellow fever? If you want to learn about these diseases that are talked about a lot in the media. I want to go ahead and thank the listeners out there, and I hope you join me again next week. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Maria, for being very supportive and with all these endeavors I'm involved in. I appreciate that, and I love you, baby. And I'll see you next week, and have a fantastic weekend.